Welcome back to another episode of A Toast with Our Hosts, our series where we interview the hosts who have retreat listings on the Retreat Bee platforms, and we get to learn more about their journeys and their upcoming retreats. Today, we have Jacquelyn, who is hosting the Hacienda retreat in Mexico this January. And Jacquelyn is a breathwork facilitator, a coach, and a retreat host based in Mexico City. And we just were chatting about how much I can't wait to go to Mexico City next year.
It's so amazing here.
I love it so much. It's such a sign to meet someone there.
Mhm.
So I'd love to just tell us a little bit more about yourself and your journey to hosting retreats.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually living in New York City for 7 years. I got so burnt out. I was working in finance, and I'm much more of a creative person. And like I have such a deep passion for wellness. And so working in that was just starting to kill my soul a little bit more each and every year. And I wanted to pursue something that I felt passionate about. And I always had side hustles that I was doing. I had a moringa company, this supplement, and I would go to trade shows on weekends. And I was like, I want to get in the wellness world. But I had just, I don't know, got stuck in the finance world in New York. And so one day, actually, I was invited to go to Mexico City. And I came just for the weekend. It was literally a 48-hour trip, and I fell instantly in love with Mexico City, actually. And I decided when I got back, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna leave my job and move to Mexico and see what happens. And I had already started doing coaching on the side, and so my goal was to explore that. And I was also doing retreats or like weekend experiences for friends, kind of a mix between a retreat and just having fun. And so the feedback was like, this is amazing. Like, can you please do this full time? We'll pay you to do it. And so I really wanted to let go of New York and go to Mexico and just see what could happen when I kind of had the world as my oyster and like the space and freedom and time to explore. Unfortunately, COVID just hit. And so I thought, oh no, like now I can't, like, what am I supposed to do now? Um, and so I was living in Mexico City, actually in the mountains, just an hour outside, south of Mexico City. And I was hiking every day with a new friend. And one day I was like, you know what? I'm not going to have this stop me. And I decided to create a longer version. So it was like a month-long retreat, and you could pick like to book for 1, 2, 3, or 4 weeks. And I just sent it to my friends and I was like, are you interested? Would you want to do this? And it was meant to be a mix of like co-living slash retreat. And especially in a time of COVID when everyone was just really craving connection and community. And so I started it then. There was definitely a lot of hurdles. I learned about doing business in Mexico, and it was definitely a learning curve, but I persevered through it and had the first retreat, and it was amazing. And so since then, also with us getting away from COVID, I've continued to refine it and turn it into a week-long experience. And also, instead of it just being a way to get friends together and have community and do some wellness stuff, it's more focused around having people get to know themselves on a deeper level. So focused around personal growth and, if you're at a place in your life where you're just curious to get to know yourself and uncover things, and, maybe you have some blocks inside of you or some fears you haven't yet faced, and you really want to step into yourself fully, I would say that's more of the focus now. Um, and going from a place where I was just so becoming so dead inside with working in finance because it's so for some people, but it wasn't for me. And then now working in something that truly just inspires me on a daily basis and fulfills me is just one of the most rewarding experiences.
I just love that. And I resonate so hard. I spent 6 years in management consulting. So, like, traveling with different clients, just some experiences were like so wonderful in that time, but a lot of them were like soul sucking in a lot of ways too. So, leaning more into wellness has been so incredibly fulfilling. And I just love like
Mhm.
the shift of going from creating that space to leaning even more into like personal growth and kind of self discovery. That's incredible.
Thank you. Yeah, it's so also so fun to just see people coming out of their shell and embracing themselves. And yeah, it's just such so beautiful, and also staying in touch with people long after the retreat. And then hearing them say like my whole life has changed. I moved here, I met this person, and like that was the seed that was planted. So it's really, really fun and exciting.
I love that. That's actually how I think of retreats too. I remember in June when we were leaving, the one that I mentioned earlier in Pacifica, California, it was like,
Mhm.
oh, I feel like I've planted seeds of change, like with these women that were at this retreat. And like, that is such a cool feeling. And like seeing
Mhm.
how they might not bloom immediately, but like they do, like everything does start to bloom eventually with like the right work.
Exactly. Yeah.
Incredible. And when you're thinking through your retreats and kind of like putting together, you mentioned now they're week long, like what
Mhm.
inspires you and how do you go about like creating like the itinerary and the flow of events and kind of the theme?
Yeah, well, I would say it's really an extension of myself and the work that I'm doing, because that's what I'm most inspired to bring to the experience. And so if it's something that has profoundly impacted me, or, left an imprint on me, I want to bring that into the retreats and experiences. And I also like to push myself to learn and grow more. So for example, I went to the Hoffman process,
Very cool.
which is a retreat that started in California, but they have them all over the world now. And it looks at family patterns, or your like parenting and childhood, yeah, moments and patterns that have influenced your life. And so like diving into that was, unlocking an even deeper layer in myself,
Yeah.
to then hold space for others who are maybe beginning that journey or exploring it. And so, and while I'm not like a, Hoffman teacher, but I just, I take learnings and wisdom and things, and like to, bring different elements into the retreats. I would say so I started in Mexico, and so at this hacienda that's absolutely amazing. And there I've stuck to the Sunday to Sunday retreat. And with that, so for example, I like to bring in the culture of the different countries I'm in. So in Mexico, we'll do a temazcal, which like is their sweat lodge, and a cacao ceremony. I think breathwork is one of the most powerful elements of breaking through things. So I always love to include breathwork. I think movement is important, and I love yoga, so I do yoga, but sometimes we'll do primal movements or some shaking, some dance, getting people into their bodies. So I would say there's some consistency. I also feel very passionate about vulnerability. So I will create probably one day of like really diving into that, whether it's in partner work or small groups, writing, and getting people to really get to know themselves deeper, and then one another, because when you connect in that way, it really bonds you in a deeper way, and you feel more connected to yourself, to others, to this world that we live in. And so it's really inspiring. And yeah, just each year that I'm learning more, each moment that I'm learning something new, I like to bring that in, or different people that I meet. For example, I think it was actually a couple years ago that I met this guy who does horse constellations. And so I'm gonna have a chat with him actually later today, and we'll see, because there's some horses on the property, and so maybe we'll weave in an element of horse constellations into the experience, and maybe not. We'll see if it works. Maybe he has to bring in like horses from somewhere else, and it's too complicated. But I just really love to explore all kinds of things that get us to connect and to
Yeah.
grow, to
I just
learn and
love that.
explore.
I think that's awesome. And I think like that resonates so deeply just, and I think it speaks to like the seed of the teacher is like the lifelong learner and just continuing to learn things and share them and integrate them into the experiences that you're offering too. So I think that's incredible.
Mm. Thank
And this
you.
retreat, specifically the Hacienda
Mhm.
retreat, like tell us a little bit more about it. I'm so
Yeah.
excited.
I mean, it's in this since 16th century hacienda, so it's like stepping back in time. And I mean, the space just invokes creativity and curiosity, and there's like little crevices and corners to wander and explore and take some time to yourself or to reflect. And and I would say because I started in COVID and at this location, I always had a co-working time. So during the day, I do have like free hours or co-working hours, and people can do their own thing. And what I learned is that time continues, some people do want to just stay online and do a couple things for like maybe an hour, but they really love that time to just connect with one another and the spaciousness of not having a plan, but to see what happens. And then sometimes I have participants who, love hosting tea ceremonies or qigong, or, they're really well versed on, you know, what was it? Not constellations. Anyways, they're passionate about something. And then we can do like an optional little workshop if people are interested. And so it's less of this rigid experience you have to follow and more of a co-creation. And so while I will definitely have like daily meditations and yoga, and there will be breath work, a temescal, a sound journey, um, I also love to have that spaciousness to see what the group is desiring and then begin to create something for that. If everyone's going through a deep emotional process of, letting go or going through a breakup or a friend separation, then we can invite, like a cord cutting moment or like a way of letting go. And I like having that spaciousness to create in the moment and really go where the group needs to go.
I love that. I think that's so special too. And it is such a fine, it's like a dance of like having
Mm.
those things planned out, but then also having that spaciousness to allow for like the magic of like, what is this group going to be together? Because each retreat is like, it's even if there's repeat guests and people who have met before, it's always a totally new experience with like this group as a whole. So I think that's so special.
Thank you. Yeah, and it's beautiful to see. And I have some repeat guests coming to this hacienda. And it's so amazing to see, that they've come two, three, four times and they still want to come back because while there's some consistency, there's always a different element.
Absolutely.
And it's forever growing, evolving, and changing. And so it's such a wonderful feeling in my heart to see people come back and get to spend more time with them.
I love that. And when you were thinking through this retreat, like, did you have anyone in mind? Like, obviously, you have like your previous retreaters, but you mentioned even like people going through like a breakup or a change or looking for self-discovery or looking to learn more about themselves. Like, who
Right.
who were you creating this retreat for?
Yeah, I would say I'm creating it for people who are just curious and they're curious to get to know themselves. Sometimes we don't, we want more or we feel like we're living a life, but our true selves isn't fully out there and there's something holding us back. And this is the place that allows you to explore that and to break through those barriers that are preventing you from living the life that you want. And sometimes that does happen to be during a career shift or during a breakup or just a moment of transition in someone's life, where they're actually at a moment of reflection and, you know what, I actually want something more. And it doesn't have to be like, I need to go change my life completely, but you're just curious and like, I'm ready for something new and something more. And I also just want to be surrounded by people who are going through growth in their life and actually want to have those more vulnerable questions and that rawness and that vulnerability because that's when we feel so alive.
I love that. I like, yeah. And I think what a juicy time for it too in the new year. Like, because this retreat is in January, I think not that there's ever a bad time to be curious and explore and embrace vulnerability and community,
Mhm.
but I just think what a prime time in the start of the new year to really like commit to that journey of discovery and curiosity and community, really.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's a time when the whole world is reflecting, like, what do I want to bring into this year?
Yeah.
And to start it off so powerfully with, I'm actually going to take the time to set these intentions and make a change and shift in my life. It's very powerful.
I love that. And when people leave your retreat, what is one or a few words of how you're hoping they leave feeling or are ready to embody, or how they're thinking when they leave?
Yeah, so I mean, just thinking back personally of, the feedback from some people is they feel lighter, they feel radiating. From this last retreat I had a guest come message me and she's like, people are asking like what I did and what changed, or like you feel completely different, like you're radiating. What happened to you there? She's like, I don't know, I just, something happened and shifted inside of me. And others say, I feel like I've just been carrying this weight and this baggage for a long time. And they're able to work through it there and they just leave feeling light, radiant. Someone's mother was like, wow, like, you are just radiating with like so much love and joy inside of you. And I would say that's the goal, is just allowing people to connect with themselves so they can let go of the things holding them down or preventing them from just feeling alive and present and happy and content.
I love that. That is like such a beautiful, and again, what a beautiful way to go into 2025 feeling that way, because that like radiates throughout the rest of your life too, like showing up in that way. So I think that's amazing.
Thank you.
And where can everyone find you for more information? I'll be sure to link everything in the like show notes on YouTube, but where can people find more information?
Amazing. Yes, absolutely. So the website or the Instagram is a great place. The website is cocoon.com. It's spelled with K's, so it's Kakun. And the Instagram is also cocoon. So those are probably the two best places to find more information.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being here, for sharing and creating these beautiful retreats.
Thank you so much.